Hey, happy Tuesday, guys. We're live, Airbnb Gems, like every single Tuesday, 3 p.m. EST. We go live. I'm your host, Mamadou Diallo, and I go live with Marta Miner and Hung Mai. We bring you guys everything all about Airbnbs, tips and tricks, underwrite your deals, tell you what's trending on the market, the right and wrong things to do on the Airbnb and short-term rental in general, and in the hospitality space in general. So every single Tuesday we go live 3 p.m. EST. So please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment for anything you want to hear. And I'm gonna let Marta introduce herself.
Well,
What up, Marta?
hello, Mamadou. What I love about you is that you never show that you're tired. You said, I'm so tired, but you look like fresh as a daisy. But my name is Marta Miner. I'm a real estate investor and mom, and I love hospitality. And the reason I really love short term rentals is because it combines like my two biggest passions, which is hospitality, customer service, serving people along with decorations and furnishing things, making things pretty and luxurious. So I really love the Airbnb space. And I think right now there's a lot of controversy when it comes to short-term rentals. So we're here to talk a little bit about regulations and how they affect the future or short-term rentals. So I don't know if Hong is on or if you want to get. Oh yeah, here you are. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Well, great. How are you?
Introduce yourself, bro.
Hey, everyone. My name is Hung. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and in the last 2 years, I've kind of stumbled upon this short-term rental space, and ever since then, we're currently at about 15 properties and growing. And by the end of this year, we should end up with a boutique hotel, which is one of our big goals this year for myself. And I'm actually going tomorrow with some local investors here to check out a couple of multifamily to see if it's a potential for that play.
Mhm.
So yeah, really excited. But it's always fun to have Marta and Mamadou here. Just like Marta says, even though Mamadou says like he's tired, he always look good and ready though.
What's going on? I want that skin tone. I want to always look fresh like a daisy. He's
Yeah,
like, I
guys.
didn't even sleep.
They always say you just gotta show up, right? It doesn't matter how you feel, guys. Today I feel like I'm not gonna use the word on YouTube so we don't get censored, but I don't feel well at all. Yesterday, I went to a social media networking event, then shoot a lot of content, but I ended up coming back super late, around like 2 a.m. Then I almost didn't eat yesterday. So this morning, I literally had food poisoning. I'm all over the place. Like I didn't sleep well. As you guys know, I have a newborn that don't even let us sleep in the first place. So I'm jacked up, right?
Yes.
So, but we're here, guys. We're here to add value to you. So please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. No excuses. You show up and you do the thing. Literally closed on the fix and flip 2 days ago, one day ago, and today we have contracts came in. So I didn't make that as an excuse to not show up today. So with that being said, guys, today what we want to talk about is rules and regulations when it comes to the Airbnb and short-term rental hospitality business in general. But specifically, Airbnb is getting hammered right now. What I mean by that is every single state is getting affected by either the lobbying of the hotels, right, or just rules and regulations from the counties popping up all over the place. And you also have the HOAs that are getting stricter and stricter and stricter. I think that's how you say it. I hope that's good English,
Yeah.
right? And so with that, there's a lot of people that are kind of like pivoting and trying to see, okay, because there's some markets where people got caught up by surprise by the new rules and regulations, and they already had about 10, 15, 20 Airbnbs, and they're like, shoot, what do I do with all these properties now, right? So my thing is, and this is from my team, when we have an Airbnb, when we have a property that come in and we consider, I don't know how you guys do it, so I'm gonna let you guys speak on that. But when we have a property come in and we considering it as an Airbnb or STR in general, we first underwrite it as a rental always.
Mhm.
And if it's negative as a rental, we oftentimes, unless it is in a super A area where I know my worst case scenario is I can sell this thing or really appreciate if I'm like, breaking even on my monthly. If not, like I'm not touching it if it doesn't work as a rental as my worst case scenario, because Airbnb, it can go up, go down, go up, go down. So I always want to be able to pivot back and not bleed money. So the underwriting process is, first we look at, okay, what is my worst case scenario if Airbnb, break loose, doesn't work anymore? What is my worst case scenario? Can I pivot back to a rental? If yes, that is a property I'm truly interested in digging in deeper and seeing, okay, what are the Airbnb or short-term rental numbers, and pivot to that. But I'm seeing a trend right now. There is another strategy that is like, it's always been here, but right now people are talking about it more. Sober living. Sober living is coming back to life. People are literally like just talking about it all over, pivoting from Airbnb to that. So the properties that now they're stuck because of the new rules and regulations that surprise them while they already have a property up and running. They're pivoting back into sober living, which I don't know nothing about yet. I'm actually meeting somebody today on that specific topic. But what do you guys think? Like, what is your underwriting process as far as like when it comes to Airbnbs when you have a property come in?
Well, I just came back from the real estate summit with Grant Cardone this weekend, and we talked a lot about multifamily. Obviously, that's a multifamily summit.
Right.
But Grant did mention a couple of things that I want to mention here. First of all, he says, you guys are all going to get killed in this Airbnb space if you are in the space, which I think he's really referring to people that don't know what they're doing, because there's a lot of people that got into business without having any understanding. When it was really hot, like, it doesn't matter if you know what you're doing, you're going to make money, right? Just like you were a property owner and the prices went up, you didn't have to do any rehab to your house and you still profited and could have sold your house and made $1 million on it, right? If you were in a good area that appreciated. But now we're getting into a situation where there's oversaturation. The market is shifting, it's changing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you will be pushed out. So that's one thing I want to say. Second thing, Grant said and repeated as a mantra that you have to have multiple exit strategies no matter what you do in real estate investing. So not just in multifamily, you have to have multiple exits. Without having multiple exits, don't get in the space. So like what Mamadou mentioned, if you are an Airbnb operator right now, and let's say they do put regulations on your Airbnb, what's your exit? Can you change it into a midterm rental? Can you still sell it? Worst case scenario, most likely probably not. You're probably underwater right now. Can you turn it to a sober living facility or like a retirement home? Or there's a lot of different strategies you can go through. But if you don't know them and they shut you down, like, what are you going to do? So we're here to kind of talk about regulations and what you can do. But I still believe that if you are in it to stay here long term, which we've been saying over and over, you have to know what you're doing. You have to have your business dialed in. You have to have customer service, hospitality, decor, design, all of that has to be in place. And then if regulations change, then we work on a strategy. But if you were lacking all of the other things to start with, you're probably going to get pushed out because there's not going to be any demand for your product to start with. And the regulations will make it so much harder for you to survive. So that's what I wanted to give the 3 cents on that subject before we move on to regulations.
100%. How about you, Hong? What you think about this topic? Cannot hear you.
Can't hear you.
I was saying, I think Marta is kind of hitting it on the head in terms of like, you have to have a long-term vision in terms of what is it that you're looking to get out of in this, in at least in this space anyways. This is the only space that I particularly want to focus on. I think this is like my passion in terms of what I want to do for a long period of time. And if you're trying to just get in like really quickly and get out, then it might not be like the play for you. But if you're trying to stay in for the long period of time, then you can do that research. It's literally one quick Google search away to see like if you're in a regulated space or not. One thing I learned coming back from the summit in Nashville was I met this guy named STR Hero. His name is Theormore.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, he's a really cool guy. I think he's got like 30, 40 units or something. And he's a regulator. He's a lawyer, like a short-term rental, like lawyer in that aspect. And he helps all the counties in all over the country help fight the regulations from the city. And currently, like right now, he's just off the top of my head, right now they're still going on and fighting back the regulations of Dallas, for example, right? And so he says one of the first thing you can do to help your space or help your market, wherever that you are, is to start a STR association. So that way you have a voice, so that you guys all have some type of voice, so that you can have conversation and be loud enough to talk back with the county or the city, right? Because if you don't have a voice and it's just you, it's really hard to voice out your perspective on why short-term rental is a good value add to the city. Versus if you don't have a voice, then any homeowner can complain long enough, and then the city will eventually regulate it based on whatever the old people who have a lot of time, who spend time just calling every day because they can. That's who they're going to listen to, right? So that's one thing that you can do, is start an association where you are. But overall, I mean, yes, there is a downturn in terms of market occupation. I was just looking at the data in one of our market. Like for instance, in Arizona, not all over Arizona, but the market that we're in, which is a surprise. I was just seeing this time last year, we're currently down, I think 14% in terms of occupancy. So what does that say, right? If at this same day last year, we're down 14% in terms of occupancy, that means there's less demand. So if there's less demand, that means your property has to be like the cream of the crop for you to be even considered first with the remainder of the supply that's currently there. And like Marta says, the ones that are available left will get pushed out because they've been comfortable.
And you know what? I just read something interesting. First of all, it's really weird you mentioned the STR hero, because I just found him and I was going to provide a link to everybody today on the call. And I literally have the link saved, and you mentioned his name. So it's like the stars are aligned. Like, you guys probably need to know this guy to help you. I can send the link to you, Mamadou, and you can post it. But what I was going to say on what Hang just mentioned, I did some reading over the weekend on it. And there are two examples in California of not two states, but two local governments that took a different approach on STR and provided data after they've kind of did some observation. One of them stopped issuing new permits for STR, and they kind of analyzed the data to see if the supply and demand is changing, or if it's just like there's too many STRs, or did people stop traveling? So they stopped issuing permits, and they only stuck with the people that already had STRs, and it turned out, I think it was a 17% increase in number of travelers and demand. Versus the other place they were comparing, I don't remember the city, maybe it was Palm Springs and some other one, I don't remember. But the other one, they continued to issue permits, or actually there were no permits. People were just, whatever, wild west. People were opening up short-term rentals, and they saw a decline in occupancy by whatever percentage, 13 or 17%. What that means is that it's not that people stopped traveling, but because you had too much supply, everybody's occupancy went down slightly. Now, you will still have some operators that are so established in the market and they know what they're doing, and they're doing it so well that they will continue with their occupancy. But if you have, let's say there were like 7, grocery stores that sell the same type of food, obviously not everybody's now going to go to Whole Foods. They're going to go to Trader Joe's and other places, versus before Whole Foods captured the whole market. So you have to take that into consideration. In markets that you have wild west and there's no regulations, everybody and their brother are jumping on those markets because they're easy. And what happens, and they lower occupancy across the board for everybody. So now the guy that had 80% has 60% occupancy, and that really hits you, right? Like, that is your bottom line, is what is your occupancy? So
Right.
I think the regulations are a good thing, because if you're true, like really good operator, you know what you're doing, you are able to go through the process, you're able to obtain your license and do everything right and stay in the business long term, versus, hey, let's jump on all these markets that have no regulations, and then you're still not profitable.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you always want to think, and Hung said something that seemed really simple and logic, but you know, like they said, common sense is not common. Like with in anything you're getting into, Hung said, I just did some research in some of the markets we're in, and this is what I found. And a lot of people, that word research literally fly over their heads. It's like just Google. You can literally ask Google right now, how do I drink water? And you can get it. Like they can literally tell you how to drink water, right? And now we have Chat GPT, guys. So it gets even easier. Just ask Chat GPT, hey, just do everything for me, right? I'm telling you, like people are already using it to even build cash buyers in my niche in wholesale. You know what I mean? So it's insane. But the reality is people don't do research. They just get excited about the property, they get excited about the location, then they don't do research. So if you're in the area, start by doing the research, right? Google the area and read the rules and regulations. I know they're super annoying, I know they're super lengthy usually, right? One call at the county also, if you really want to go a step further, literally calling the county, you can get a lot of information, honestly. And if you're working with a seller like we do, we get a lot of properties off market, and there is an HOA in place, just ask them the HOA docs. Usually they will be willing to send it to you, and you can read and see exactly what do they require, what is the rules and regulations when it comes to short-term rentals and all that fun stuff. So I think doing research is things that people that does it take it for granted, but a lot of people actually don't. Like they just want to be given that button and just, okay, I figured it out. But it's not black and white, because today you can look at a city also that there is no rules and regulations, and 12 months from now it get affected, right? It's the same thing when it comes to wholesale and real estate. Now multiple states are getting affected by these laws that started in other states where you have to get a license to wholesale. Maryland didn't have it, and Maryland just literally passed a law. I think now it's official that you have to have the license to wholesale in Maryland. There's ways around it. You can squat up a real estate agent and all that fun stuff, but just a Google search research will show you that. So I really think like we take that for granted, Hung, but that shows that you're passionate about it and you're also serious about the business. And so you keep up with the data. You guys, you're going into STR meetups, right? Meeting experts in that field and getting new data and all that fun stuff. So I think that's huge. And the underwriting process, for me, that's huge. Like you gotta have an underwriting process step by step on when I get a property in, depending on how you're getting it. Mainly, I think most of our audience go after off-market properties or right now on market with agents that have properties or that are not selling. But like your underwriting process is really important, especially when you're talking single family. It's like people always start with their best case scenario. I love knowing my worst case scenario. Like, okay, if I go to the moon and then I'm landing, am I landing on my head, on my, like, I need to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because guys, you always want to be safe as far as like, if worst comes to worst, I want to be safe and still be able to cash flow and not bleed money with another strategy, which it could be rental, it could be sober living. The great thing about sober living is that is a protected type of tenants by the government. So there's no HOA that can restrict you from doing that strategy. So people talk about that strategy a lot right now. So I think that's really good. So guys, anything else that you're seeing as far as like what's coming next, right? Outside of just that, do you think we're gonna get to a point where it's literally impossible to do Airbnb, or do you think it's
No.
just gonna come down to, hey, I think people panic too soon, So what do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. What I'm going to say is that cities cannot afford to lose short-term rental operators, because imagine their loss of revenue right now. So there's that really thin line of balance, because in certain markets you have such a big hotel lobby lobbying or whatever you call it, where they press really, really hard, right, to get rid of short-term rentals. But in reality, like the short-term rentals right now provide so much income to the city, to the county, whoever is charging them, the state. And if you get rid of all of them, they lose that revenue. They can't afford that. And then they also don't want to take it away from people who are using it as their sole income, like, because then you have unemployment. So they can't just take it and pull the rug from underneath you, right? They're going to just get tougher and tougher to eliminate bad apples. And I think because we got into this, like when I remember being in Airbnb 6-7 years ago, there was not as much competition. And it was just different. And then everybody started getting in because they heard there's money in it. So they just ran really fast and they're just like, let's just do it. They didn't follow any of the rules. They didn't follow like the zoning and all of that, safety regulations, noise regulations, occupancy limits, like all of that stuff. There are rules around that. And if people didn't follow the rules, it created like all of this bad rep for Airbnb, right? So Airbnb has to do something about it, number one. So they're putting stricter regulations, and cities and states have to put stricter regulations because people that live in the community are complaining. So they are going to probably continue with, I mean, I don't see Airbnb going anywhere, but they're going to push out anybody who's not following the rules, which I think is a good thing. Like, I'm a rule follower. I'm sorry. I mean, I'll break a couple of rules here and there or stretch them. But overall, like, I'm here to stay long term. So it doesn't really help me much to make all my neighbors angry, but hey, at least I make 5K. That's awesome, I think Hung is so good about like always making sure that when he operates in HOA areas, like he'll go and talk to the neighbors and, make sure that they're happy, because then at least he avoids these complaints. And I really just feel like we're here to stay. Operators that are really solid operators that follow the rules, they understand, they pay their taxes, they do all the right things. They're here to stay. Everybody else is going to be pushed out. And I think it's great because me as a traveler, I don't want to stay with all the bad operators that don't know what they're doing, So there's two sides to the coin.
Right. So basically the amateurs, if you're an amateur, you're getting pushed out. How about you, Hung? What you think?
I mean, I love regulations because it keeps the other people out. And the harder the regulation is, I think it's even better, because then that helps kind of insulate you from a lot of the competition that could potentially come in. And there's certain ways around that. Like some of the things that I'm learning now this past weekend or this past week that I went to Nashville was like boutique hotel, for instance. You can take any like multifamily, for instance, and potentially turn it into a boutique hotel. All it is a very simple licensing that you can go and get. And you don't have to worry about short-term rental regulations, because it's not even within that realm. It's a whole different like class of licensing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, it's really exciting. And plus, one of the cool things that I learned was like, because it's set as a commercial property, and this is like going a little bit away from short-term rental.
Can you break down for somebody who has never even heard the term short-term boutique? What does that mean?
It's basically operating a multifamily unit as a short-term rental. However, there's no staff on the property at any time.
Is there a minimum unit required?
No, I mean there's not a minimum unit required. However, there is some that you would prefer, because it makes your operations a little bit easier with scale. For instance, like you would like a property that has parking. You would like a property that has the right amount of room for a commercial laundry room, for instance, right? Where you can put like, commercial size washer and dryer in there and whatnot. Right. So that way it streamlines some of the operations. But in terms of the regulation conversation, I mean, I welcome it, because I think it's good for the industry. And if you're a really good operator, it will either make you or break you, and if you feel safer, you can go to some of the other markets like Gatlinburg or Destin, Florida, where it's a little bit more seasoned short-term rental market. So you don't have to worry that regulations are going to change in that area, those areas, because they are like very mature markets, and those governments have already like finalized the regulations and what their stance is on those markets.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, 100% agree. So is like I said again, it's the same thing, guys. Either you're amateur or you're a business owner, and if you're a business owner, you gotta always go. Number one, rules and regulations shouldn't like scare you, because you always find a solution, and it actually helps you because you get rid of all the people that are not taking it seriously. They just have a random property and put carpet and paint and just turn it into Airbnb, right? Number two, do your research, right? Research, literally, like today is never been easier to do research. If you're lazy typing, you can literally talk to Siri and Siri will type for you. Siri is like the perfect admin assistant, absolutely free. I mean, it might cost you $1,200 to buy the iPhone, but after that, it's absolutely free, super sexy voice, get you all the answers you need, right? So I'm just saying, like, it's so easy, like you cannot just, and it's like just going to these events, man. Like people get lazy to drive or take a flight. Like going to these events and meeting actual experts, people that are running like great operations, big operations, scaled, and talk to these people is like the type of game you can learn and apply. And another nugget that Hongmei talked about is really good. You said just form an association or whatever to go and lobby too, right? That's basically what you're doing. It's funny because my attorney told me the same thing in Maryland. When they started passing the law, we're literally having an event on the 30th in Maryland, live event where I'm one of the guest speakers. And that attorney, who's one of the best creative finance attorneys in closing attorneys in Maryland, he will be one of the guest speakers, right? And literally he was telling me, listen, you guys need to lobby against this law. I hope the wholesaling community already has people working on this, right? I said, yes, they are. That's people way bigger than me that are already like talking about this. So it's the same thing in this side of the business as well. And on top of that, honestly, people can cry, scream, do whatever they want. Like change is just inevitable. I think a lot of people are afraid of change, but change is inevitable. Sometimes at some point, people will have to comply because people will always find a different way to operate. Like Hong just brought up the boutique hotel thing. Like there's no way you can stop people from and I think last week on the last show, guys, but you gotta go watch it. Hong gave even another uh, great nugget on the way around it, how people literally set up their Airbnb in a way where you cannot technically even call it an Airbnb when the guests come in, right? So it's just all those things. So do your research. Basically, the bottom line is do your research before you get in any market, so you know exactly, and have an underwriting process. If you're getting properties off market, know what you're underwriting and know what's your like this is a no, right? Everybody should have that in their buy box, so to say. If you're taking down properties, it's like, okay, my no is if worst case scenario, no STRs works whatsoever. I have no other strategy. I cannot rent it. I cannot turn it into sober living. None of that work here. And I don't have equity. For example, this is just an example. Well, I'm not touching that because it's super risky unless you have, your Bill Gates' son or daughter and you have all the money in the world to bleed for I don't know how long, right? But there's always a solution and alternative to what you're doing. That's the thing. Like I just heard Pace say some of his properties in Atlanta, he had about, I don't know, 25 or so, I don't know. But he turned some of them into sober living when the rules and regulations came in Atlanta, which over there, they're super aggressive, right? So with that being said, I think for the one today, do you guys have anything to add? I think this one was short and sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it.
Do you have anything to add, Laura?
No, for me, it's like, I think surround yourself with people that have the knowledge that you don't have. That's number one. And if you operate remotely, make sure you have really good boots on the ground. People don't like to spend money on property managers or anybody like helping them. It's possible to do this business remotely by yourself, But when you want to stay really up to date, like with regulations and making sure everything is done properly, you have to have people helping you locally to be available to check, like install noise machines in your homes. Like there's a lot of things that you need to do to operate a business that's not going to get you in trouble. So yes, underwriting is really big, but once you're already in business, make sure that you understand how to follow the rules and have somebody helping you, because you can get yourself out of the business really quickly if you have a lot of people complaining about you. So that's my biggest thing. I know in Arizona, it's just so strict that even if you have a property manager, you have to have somebody always available 24/7 to be able to show up within 1 hour of complaint. So for me, when I lived in Missouri, one time I installed alarm in my house, and I didn't even get a chance to give the code to my property manager yet, because I'm like, I'm not going to set it. I just installed it. And literally they checked in next day. And the lady was like playing around, because I have it on the video. My camera was like on her. And she's like, what's going to happen if I press this button, call emergency? So she did. At midnight, police shows up to my house. My property manager doesn't have my code yet because I literally just installed it. I wake up at 7 a.m. in Missouri and I have 100 missed calls from police departments, from everybody and their brother, property managers. I guess the alarm was going off a whole night. I didn't even I would have never expected anybody will press buttons, but people do. So I learned really quickly, like, you can't trust your renters. You have to have your system set up that somebody can be there and be boots on the grounds for you and take care of the stuff, you know? So yeah, I mean, that's my little golden nugget for you.
I love that one. I love that one. How about you,
Hon? No, that's crazy. That
Yeah.
I see. I've had nightmares about that as well. Like I've seen some of the systems that, like some of the property that we went into, and we see, like, I see a security system, and the first thing I do is just yank it out, because I know people are just curious and they will start pressing buttons for fun.
I mean, it's not a kid. This was a grown lady.
I know, no, everyone. No, it's everyone. When people are in new spaces, I just know, like, I know I would do it. So I know, so you know, like, come on. I think we've all stared at like we've all stared at like one of those switches that like turns on the sprinklers in buildings before. Like, we've thought about pulling it, right? I thought about pulling it. And sometimes people's thoughts wins. And so, like, the first thing I ever do is, like, I get rid of those things. But no.
Yeah, I mean, in Phoenix, actually, they fine you for that, right? If you call the police, like, for no reason. Not only that, but then I gave her 2 codes. One was like, I forget what it's called. It's like a emergency code. Like, if somebody is at your house with the gun to your head, you type that code in, and then it's a silent alarm and police shows up. I gave her 2 codes. For some reason, I think I texted her, and she pressed that code. Once everything was already settled in the morning, police showed up again saying, is there a hostage situation here? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was 2 times that police showed up at my house, and I think they have a 2-strike rule. And after that, like, you pay for them coming into your house. So next time I call the police from my house, like, I'm paying for them. It's not a free service anymore. So because they used it up twice for me.
Do you charge the guests for doing that? It seems like
there's nothing you can charge. I mean, she already did so much damage to my house, like with ruining all my carpets and stuff. And then she lost my 2-strike rule. Like, I don't get any free strikes for the police anymore. Like, I have to be 100% sure there's something happening on my property before I call them, because now I have to pay for them, you know? So, I mean, they were pretty cool about it. I said, I'm sorry, it's a new renter. But I mean, I had a heart attack when I woke up, and I had all these missed calls and messages, one after another, from police departments, from my property manager, from everybody. Like Hung said, people are curious and they'll do crazy stuff, and they may do other crazy stuff. This was just a good example of, like, you know, all the rules and regulations. Imagine my neighbors hearing the alarm going off at the middle of the night for 6 hours and a bunch of police up front. I mean, I didn't look good, you know. I just thought I was just going to put alarm for safety reasons, and that's how it worked out for me.
What I would do is, in the future, I would call the neighbor. I would, like, hey, like, there's a problem next door, instead of calling it as your own.
That's right.
It's like, hey, while you're here, I got a problem too.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah, and
crazy.
it's a safe neighborhood. Like, what were people thinking? Police showing up twice, in the same 24 hours. Crazy stuff. But
You
can't make
grow.
this stuff up, really. In
They think
short-term
you grow.
rentals.
They'll think you grow in some green trees inside that property and start panicking.
I mean,
Had,
seriously.
I've had a guest like that once on my Airbnb in Virginia. Like they came in, I think it was like 6 or 7 of them, and like you said, they're just curious. They're standing there in front of the ring bell camera, I guess, and the guy, I forget it was a girl or guy. He's looking at it, and he's just like, I don't know what he's trying to do. He's like just testing it, and my phone is going off because you get the alert if
Yeah.
somebody is, and I'm just like, oh my god. And that same night, for whatever reason, they started running. I don't know what happened, if they saw cats or whatever. They started running, and the police showed up that same night. It happens. So you get that kind of guest guy. So you got to make sure you put your stuff in place, so that if something happens, like Marta said, you have somebody who can actually react super super fast. So management honestly, on short-term rental, I feel like management is so damn key. It's not, because a lot of people have this idea of you just responding to guests. No, I think there is more that goes into managing a short-term rental, if you only knew. With that being said, guys, it was Tuesday Airbnb James. We kept this one short and sweet. Please leave us a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We appreciate you hanging out with us every single Tuesday. And today was all about rules and regulations. I hope you take this and apply it. Start networking with people in the space. If you're interested in this space, do your research. Do your research. Something that Hung talked. Hung, can I turn a 5 unit into a boutique hotel?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay, we're about to close on one. That's is a 5 unit, is in Florida. 2 of the units is already STRs, and one of them is regular rental. We plan on kicking that one out, so we'll be talking about that. But there you have it, guys. So please do us a favor, share it too. Share with other people that maybe can benefit from this podcast. And if you let us know in the comments what are the topics you want us to hear about, we will actually make one podcast just to address that topic. So literally go in the YouTube channel, leave a comment there, and make sure you follow these 2 beautiful people. I'm going to bring them on stage, Marta and Mr. Hung Mai. And let me show you guys their name. How do I navigate this? Now I'm having technical issues. Boom, there you have it.
Oh, here you go.
There you go. IG at Marta __ minor. Hong Mai is IG at Hong V Mai. He couldn't buy back his name, guys. Somebody more handsomer had the name already.
Trust me, I've tried offering him like $1,000. No, no responses.
That's the cool thing about having a unique name, right? All right, guys, there you have it. So Airbnb Gems, there you have it. Thank you. Please share, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Boom, 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 guys.